The divine code for unshakable courage is finally being unlocked. Have you ever felt paralyzed by fear? What if the shadows that surround you are merely the absence of a light that already dwells within your heart, waiting to be awakened? In Psalm 27, we find the very key to this revelation. This is not just a prayer, it is a map for the soul seeking refuge and strength in supreme love, a declaration of war against the anxiety that binds you. Prepare your spirit, for what you are about to hear could completely redefine your understanding of true, unbreakable protection. What happens within you when the night seems endless? Where does your soul run when the world's shadows whisper lies in your ears, attempting to convince you that you are alone, unprotected, and left to your own fate? Is there a place, an inner sanctuary, where these voices cannot penetrate? These questions are not mere rhetorical exercises. They are invitations to a journey into the center of your being, to the place where your true strength resides, waiting to be acknowledged and proclaimed. It is on this sacred ground that the words of the psalmist David germinate with a force capable of shaking the very foundations of fear. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Pause for a moment. Do not read these words as just an ancient poem, a distant echo from a warrior king. Feel them as a living decree, a vibrant truth pulsating through your veins right now, in this very moment in October of 2025, a month where the air itself calls for reflection, a time akin to the sacred solemnity of All Saints' Day, where we remember the legacy of faith that conquers all fear. The light mentioned here is not the dim glow of a lamp, nor even the powerful brilliance of the sun. It is the primordial light, the essence that dispelled the void before creation. It is the clarity that invades a confused mind, revealing the truth behind illusions. When you declare that the Lord is your light, you are affirming that you no longer need to grope in the darkness of uncertainty, anxiety, or despair. You are claiming your divine right to spiritual vision, the ability to see beyond appearances, to identify the paths the world hides, and to recognize the traps disguised as opportunities. To have this light is to have a GPS for the soul, one that recalculates the route no matter how lost you may feel. And salvation? Salvation is the direct consequence of this illumination. It is not merely a future rescue from a distant condemnation. It is the daily liberation from the prisons we build for ourselves, the prison of self-criticism, the prison of resentment, the prison of worry about tomorrow. To be saved, in the context of this psalm, is to be rescued from your own fearful mind, to be lifted above the circumstances that try to drown you. With a light that guides and a salvation that frees, the question, "Whom shall I fear?" ceases to be an inquiry and becomes a rhetorical assertion of power. Fear becomes a dwarf before a giant. The psalmist then deepens the decree, driving it even further into the soul. The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Perceive the beauty and depth of this. He doesn't say that the Lord gives strength, but that He is the stronghold itself. This changes everything. It is not about borrowing an external power, but about recognizing that the source of all power already resides within you because you are connected to Him. Your life, your breath, the beat of your heart, all are a direct manifestation of this stronghold. When the wicked advance against you to devour you, to consume your peace, your joy, your hope, what happens? They stumble and fall. Why? Because they are not fighting against you, a limited and fragile human being. They are fighting against the force that animates you, the light that guides you, the salvation that protects you. They are attempting to fight against God Himself, and that is a battle they can never win. Picture this scene: an army of worries, a legion of criticisms, a battalion of bad news encamping against you. The human heart, on its own, would tremble. The mind would panic. But the spirit anchored in this truth remains serene. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. This confidence is not blind optimism. It is the clear vision of spiritual reality which supersedes any material reality. It is the deep, unshakable knowledge that no weapon forged in the world of shadows has power against a soul that has declared itself a dwelling place of the divine light. This is your true power, your ability to choose in whom and in what you trust, regardless of the noise outside. If this truth has ignited a flame in your spirit, come, join us in this powerful act of faith. Write in the comments and seal forever in your heart the decree the universe is waiting to hear from you. I am a sanctuary of divine light, and where I stand, fear has no dominion. Declare it with the certainty of one who has already received this grace and feel the chains of anxiety shatter. The heavens are already moving in your favor. And if this message resonated with you, also leave your collaboration with this video. Subscribe, like, and share, and if it touches your heart, become a member of the channel. Every time you like and share, you strengthen this energy, help this space to grow, and carry this light to other people who need it. After planting your feet on the unshakable rock of confidence, after declaring war on fear and claiming the light as your inheritance, where does the heart turn? What is the next step in the journey of a soul that has tasted true security? David's answer reveals the deepest yearning of the human spirit, a longing that transcends the need for protection and enters the realm of communion. He says, "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple." Reflect on the purity of this desire. He did not ask for riches, nor for the final defeat of his enemies, nor for a life free from problems. He asked for only one thing. In a world that teaches us to have endless wish lists, to relentlessly pursue the next goal, the next achievement, the next satisfaction, the radical simplicity of this request is, in itself, a transformative lesson. Have you ever stopped to consider what the one thing you would ask for would be if you knew it would be granted? What remains when all the layers of superficial desires are peeled away? The house of the Lord is not a building of stone and mortar. It is a state of consciousness. To dwell in it all the days of your life means to maintain a constant awareness of the divine presence, in every act, in every breath. It is to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. It is to wash the dishes feeling the purification of the water as a symbol of grace, to work with the dignity of one who co-creates with the universe, to converse with a loved one with the reverence of one standing before a manifestation of the sacred. To gaze on the beauty of the Lord is to train the eyes of the soul to see divine beauty in everything, in the complexity of a leaf, in the resilience of a flower growing through concrete, in the kindness of a stranger, in the harmony of a melody. It is to fall in love with creation and, through it, with the Creator. And to seek him in his temple is to adopt the posture of an eternal learner, understanding that every challenge, every joy, every encounter is a lesson designed specifically for the growth of your spirit. Are we living this way, seeking this constant dwelling? Or do we only visit the sacred on Sundays, treating God's presence as an event, rather than the very air we breathe? It is in this dwelling of consciousness that the promise of protection deepens and reveals its fullness. For in the day of trouble, he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock. The dwelling, the sacred tent. These are metaphors for the most intimate and secret place of your connection with God. It is a shelter that no army can invade because it does not exist on the physical plane. It is the silence of your mind amidst the chaos. It is the peace of your heart when the world is at war. To be hidden, there is not an act of cowardice or escape, but of strategic wisdom. It is to retreat to your center of power, to refuel, to gain clarity, to hear the voice that truly matters. And then, from there, he sets you upon a rock. A rock is high, firm, and offers a privileged view. When you are on the rock, you see the storm from above, not from within it. You see the enemy armies as tiny ants, not as threatening giants. Your perspective changes completely. The problems don't shrink, but you grow in spiritual stature. And that makes all the difference. What is the rock you have been running to in times of trouble? Is it a distraction, an addiction, the opinions of others, or is it this secret place of inner power? The consequence of dwelling in this place and being set upon this rock is exaltation and celebration. Then my head will be exalted above the enemies who surround me. At his sacred tent I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord. The victory here is not just survival. It is triumph. The lifted head is a symbol of dignity, of restored honor, of spiritual authority. The enemies, the adverse circumstances, may still be around, but they are no longer above. They have lost their power to intimidate. And the heart's natural response to this elevation is joy, song, and praise. It is not a forced praise, a formal thank you. It is a spontaneous explosion of gratitude born from the lived experience of God's faithfulness. It is the sound of the soul that knows it is loved, protected, and victorious. It is the music that echoes when you realize that the search for God's presence not only protected you from the storm, but taught you how to dance in the rain. Have you allowed gratitude to be the soundtrack of your life, even before the final victory has fully manifested? Can you offer sacrifices with shouts of joy in the midst of the battle, trusting in the exaltation that has already been decreed in your name? After the exaltation of confidence and the depth of desire for the divine presence, the journey of Psalm 27 leads us to a place of raw and honest vulnerability. Mature faith is not the absence of questions or the denial of pain. It is the courage to bring your pain and your questions directly to the source. David, the same man who declared he would not fear armies, now cries out with the urgency of a child searching for his parents' face in a crowd. Hear my voice when I call, Lord. Be merciful to me and answer me. What does this change in tone teach us about our own spiritual walk? It teaches us that strength and vulnerability are not opposites, but two sides of the same coin of faith. It takes immense strength to be truly vulnerable before God, to strip away all masks of self-sufficiency and say, I need you, hear me, answer me. How many times, in our pride, do we try to solve everything on our own, carrying burdens we were never meant to bear, simply because we are afraid of appearing weak by crying out for help? The response to this cry comes not from without, but from within. David continues, My heart says of you, seek his face. Your face, Lord, I will seek. This is one of the most intimate and revealing dialogues in all of Scripture. God does not impose his presence, he invites it. The divine call is a universal whisper. Seek my face. He does not seek our performance, our sacrifices, or our perfection. He seeks our gaze, our attention, our presence. And the response of faith is that of the heart that leaps in recognition. Yes, this is what my soul longs for. It is your face that I seek. To seek someone's face is to seek relationship, intimacy, mutual knowledge. It is to want to see the expression, the emotion, the truth in the other's eyes. It is not seeking God's hands, what he can give us, but his face, who he is. In your life of prayer and meditation, are you seeking the blessings or the blesser? Do you long for the gifts or the presents? The quality of your spiritual journey depends entirely on the answer to this question. It is from this intimate search that the believer's deepest fear is born. The fear of being abandoned by the presence that has become their everything. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not reject me or forsake me, God my Savior. This is not the cry of one who doubts God's love, but of one who, because they know the preciousness of that love, fears losing it more than anything else in the world. It is the appeal of a soul that has tasted the light and cannot bear the thought of returning to the shadows. And then, the psalmist anchors this plea in the reality of human experience, a reality that can be painful and deeply scarring. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. This is one of the most powerful statements about the transcendent nature of divine love. Human love, even the purest and most fundamental like that of parents, is finite and fallible. People make mistakes, people leave, people disappoint us. But God's love is the absolute point of security in the universe. He is the love that receives when all others let us go. He is the father to the orphan, the mother to the forsaken, the safe harbor for all hearts that have ever felt the chill of rejection or abandonment. Have you allowed this divine love to heal the wounds left by the failures of human love in your life? Have you allowed yourself to be received by these eternal arms? This act of receiving is not passive. It is an active and intentional divine movement to draw near, to care for, to protect, to restore. It is the certainty that no matter how deep the wound of abandonment, there is a love that is deeper still. It is the promise that no human being has the final say on your value or your destiny. Your identity is not defined by who left you, but by the one who received you. Living with this awareness transforms the way we relate to others. We begin to give and receive love more freely, without the burden of expecting another person to fill the void that only God can fill. This liberates us to love more purely and makes us more resilient to the inevitable disappointments of life. Security is not found in the permanence of people, but in the constancy of God. This truth, when fully absorbed by the soul, gives us a foundation so solid that we can face any relational storm, knowing that our true home, our true place of belonging, is secure and will never be taken from us. Once the soul has found security in God's unconditional love, the cry for help transforms into a request for direction. Confidence does not eliminate the existence of enemies or crooked paths. It gives us the courage to ask for the right guidance to navigate them. That is why the psalmist prays, "Teach me your way, Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors." This is the request of a humble heart that acknowledges it does not know everything. It is the admission that amidst pressure and attack, our first reaction may not be the wisest. We might react with anger, with revenge, or with fear. But the soul that seeks God asks for a different way, your way. What is the fundamental difference between our way and God's way? Our way is often that of least resistance, of instant gratification, of self-righteousness. God's way is that of integrity, patience, love, and paradoxically, true strength. To ask to be led in a straight path is to ask for moral and spiritual clarity, to desire that our actions and decisions, even under attack, glorify the light we claim to follow. Have you been looking for shortcuts out of your problems? Or have you had the courage to ask God to show you the straight path, even if it is longer and more challenging? The reason for this request is explicit: because of my oppressors. In some translations, the phrase is, because of those who lie in wait for me. This adds a layer of urgency and wisdom. When we are being watched, when our adversaries are waiting for us to stumble, every step we take matters. A thoughtless reaction, a word of hatred, an act of dishonesty can give them the exact ammunition they are looking for to accuse and discredit us. Therefore, walking the straight path is not just a matter of personal piety. It is a strategy of spiritual warfare. It is fighting with different weapons. It is overcoming hatred with love, lies with truth, anxiety with peace. It is living in such an integral way that the accusations of our enemies become empty and fall to the ground. Our conduct becomes our greatest shield and our most powerful weapon. Who are the oppressors or enemies lying in wait for you today? Are they specific people? Or are they habits of self-sabotage, voices of doubt, temptations waiting for a moment of weakness? Whatever the case, the prayer for a straight path is your greatest act of defense and offense. The psalmist then specifies the nature of the threat he faces. Do not turn me over to the desire of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, spouting malicious accusations. False witnesses are one of the oldest and most painful weapons in the arsenal of evil. They are the gossip, the slander, the distorted narratives that attempt to assassinate our reputation and destroy our credibility. Words can hurt more than swords, and the poison of a lie can contaminate relationships and opportunities. And those spouting malicious accusations or breathing out cruelty are those who take pleasure in the pain of others, who feed on conflict and destruction. Facing this type of opposition can be overwhelming. It can make us want to give up, to hide, or to retaliate in kind. But the psalmist's prayer shows us an alternative. He does not ask God to destroy his enemies, but not to be turned over to their desire. He understands that the ultimate goal of the adversary is not just to cause pain, but to shape our reality, to force us to live by their rules, to make us doubt who we are. The prayer is an act of resistance. My life will not be defined by their narrative. My destiny is not in their cruel hands. I belong to you. Have you ever felt the weight of false words or cruel actions? Have you been fighting fire with fire, or have you surrendered your cause into the hands of the one who is the judge of all the earth, asking not to be subjugated by the destructive will of others? This surrender of one's cause to God is an act of profound liberation. It means you no longer have to carry the burden of defending yourself against every accusation, correcting every lie, fighting every small battle. You can focus your energy on remaining on the straight path, trusting that truth has a strength of its own and that divine justice, in its own time, will prevail. This frees up an immense amount of mental and emotional space. Instead of obsessing over what others are saying or doing, you can concentrate on what God is asking you to be and to do. Your peace no longer depends on the cessation of the external attack, but on your connection with the internal fortress. It is a radical shift of power. You take control of the situation out of the hands of your adversaries and place it firmly in the hands of God. And it is in this place of surrender and trust that true victory begins to be forged, long before it is seen in the outside world. After the journey through the declaration of faith, the desire for communion, the vulnerable cry, and the request for wisdom, Psalm 27 reaches its climax. It is the logical conclusion, the foundation that supports the entire structure of faith, convicted hope. The psalmist, looking back on his prayer and forward into his life, makes one of the most challenging and powerful affirmations of faith. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Let's dissect this statement. He doesn't say, I would be sad or I would be disappointed. The original sentiment implies he would have perished, fainted, given up completely. For him, the absence of this belief is not an option. It is the death of the soul. Hope is not a luxury, not a naive optimism. It is the oxygen of the spirit. It is the force that makes us get out of bed when the world seems gray, the fuel that propels us to keep fighting when all evidence suggests defeat. And note where he expects to see this goodness. In the land of the living. Not just in heaven, not just in the afterlife, but here and now. It is an incarnate faith, a hope that expects tangible manifestations of God's goodness amidst the challenges of daily life. Do you truly believe, in the core of your being, that you will see the goodness of God manifest in your current life, or has your hope been relegated to a distant and ethereal future? This belief in God's forthcoming goodness, however, is not an invitation to passivity. On the contrary, it is the basis for the final and most important command of the psalm, a command that David gives to himself and to all who read it. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord. The word wait here, in the original Hebrew, kava, has a much richer and more active connotation than our English word. It doesn't mean to sit back and do nothing. It means to bind together, to be entwined with, to expect eagerly. It's like a rope made of many strands, where our hope is twisted together with God's faithfulness, creating an unbreakable bond. It is an active, expectant waiting, full of tension and anticipation. And what are we to do while we wait? Be strong and take heart. This is not a suggestion, but a command. Strength is not something we passively receive. It is something we actively choose. To take heart is to seize courage, to refuse to let our inner spirit be conquered by external circumstances. Where does this strength come from? The text implies a divine partnership. We are to be strong and take heart, and God, in turn, will strengthen our heart. It is a divine synergy. Our act of choosing courage invites God's power to fortify us from within. This final instruction is repeated for emphasis. Wait for the Lord. Why the repetition? Because this is the hardest part. It is easy to start with a bold declaration of faith, but it is in the waiting that our faith is truly tested. The waiting is the space between the prayer and the answer, between the promise and its fulfillment. This space can be filled with doubt, impatience, and the temptation to take matters into our own hands. Repeating the command is a way of anchoring the soul, of reminding it to stay the course. Waiting on the Lord means continuing to live on the straight path even when you don't see the destination. It means continuing to gaze on His beauty even when the world around you is ugly. It means continuing to believe you will see His goodness even when all you currently see is hardship. It is a profound act of trust that declares, I believe your timing is perfect. I believe your way is best. I believe your promise is true, and I will align my life with that belief until I see it come to pass. Are you willing to embrace this active, courageous waiting? Can you choose to be strong and take heart today, right where you are, trusting that the Lord is working behind the scenes to strengthen you and bring forth His goodness in your life, in the land of the living? This is the ultimate secret of unshakable faith, to wait with strength, to hope with courage, and to trust without reservation.